Well, couldn't the story have been symbolic, metaphor for other kinds of events that took place? How about creation? Couldn't that have been symbolic or metaphorical in the language that's there?
Well, it is possible, but when we look at the four postulates of creation and we compare them with the four postulates of evolution, only the postulates of creation have been observed. Evolution is based on four major ideas. None of them have ever been observed. Number one, that life comes from non-life. We have not one single example of life coming from non-life. Number two, that all the life forms that we have today came from single-cell life forms. Many people do not know that while we do have single-cell life forms that we call bacteria, we have no two-celled life forms. We don't have three-cell life forms. We don't have four-cell life forms. We don't even have five-cell life forms. That is, we go from single-cell bacteria to complex life forms. So there's no evidence that all life comes from single-cell life forms.
What's up YouTube family? Welcome back to my channel. This is Evans Raela. Family, if you'd sit down a school-going kid today and ask them about the creation story, they'll tell you that there is a creation story, which is the biblical story. Then they'll tell you the other theory of Charles Darwin, the scientific one, where it's believed that human beings evolved according to the environment that they lived in biologically. You know, from Homo erectus all the way to Homo sapiens. At the same time, we know the Bible creation story where God created earthly things for like 6 days, then he rested on the seventh day, you know, and that he created the human being on the sixth day and placed Adam in the Garden of Eden, then saw that Adam was lonely, then he decided to create Eve from the ribs, you know, of Adam. So these two theories have always been so contradicting, because at times you get to ask yourself, which is which? Is it the scientific theory or rather the biblical theory? Because all of them make a lot of sense. So guys, on today's video we have this scholar who tackles this topic and speaks about the creation story and says that the evolution story is a lie. And the professor is called Professor Major Coleman, who's known for his critical stance on evolution theory, often arguing that the theory lacks sufficient empirical evidence and that it fails to fully explain the complexity of life. His critics likely focus on the perceived gaps or limitations in evolutionary mechanisms, such as natural selection and genetic mutation, to account for the diversity of life forms. Coleman may also argue for alternative explanation, often influenced by philosophical, ethical, or theological perspectives, to address questions of life's origin and complexity. So guys, I want you to hear Professor Major Coleman talking about the evolution and creation theories. Once the video is done, we'll get back and do a critical analysis of the same. Let's watch this, guys.
Let me ask you this question, which is, why are you so interested in this biblical story as opposed to any other biblical story?
Well, that is because, first of all, Jesus believed in the flood model, and it's the basis for the entire authenticity of the Bible. If you can prove that the Genesis story is false, you have destroyed the entire belief system on which Christianity is based. So that's why we use this model to show people that Noah's Ark was real and that the story is true.
Well, couldn't the story have been symbolic, metaphor for other kinds of events that took place? How about creation? Couldn't that have been symbolic or metaphorical in the language that's there?
Well, it is possible, but when we look at the four postulates of creation and we compare them with the four postulates of evolution, only the postulates of creation have been observed. Evolution is based on four major ideas. None of them have ever been observed. Number one, that life comes from non-life. We have not one single example of life coming from non-life. Number two, that all the life forms that we have today came from single-cell life forms. Many people do not know that while we do have single-cell life forms that we call bacteria, we have no two-celled life forms. We don't have three-cell life forms. We don't have four-cell life forms. We don't even have five-cell life forms. That is, we go from single-cell bacteria to complex life forms. So there's no evidence that all life comes from single-cell life forms. The third postulate of evolution is that time and chance drive evolution forward, of course, and time works against evolution. the chance of one simple 100-unit protein coming together by accident this is a very big number. Time and chance make evolution absolutely impossible. The fourth postulate that evolution is based on is that what we see today, minor genetic variation in species, is evidence of macroevolution. So because cats are different colors, dogs are different sizes, that means that fish turned into cows. And of course, we know that that's not true because Mendel proved that all the genes that exist today, you can shuffle them around, but there are no new genes that were created. Let's think about the four major postulates of creation. Number one, where there's a design, there must be a designer. We see codes in DNA. Codes are evidence of intelligence because you have to translate from one language to another. We have not a single example of that happening by accident. Number two, that the Earth, the solar system, the universe, and the galaxy are young, measured in thousands of years, not millions or billions of years. Many times people ask me, they say, well, Major, you believe in a young Earth, a 6,000-year Earth. Can you show me that that's true without using the Bible? And I say, absolutely. What's the oldest living thing on the planet? The oldest living thing on the planet? Trees. How old are the oldest trees? 4,500 years. That takes us back almost exactly to the year of the flood, okay, in 2,500 BC. Remarkable. Number two, I'm saying, look at the sky. We call solar nebulae. A solar nebula is what we see from a supernova when a star explodes. It leaves a gas cloud. Because of our radio telescopes that we have now today, we can look deep into space and we can actually count the number of solar nebulae that are there. And how many are there? A supernova takes place about once every 26 years. How many solar nebulae do we have? 6,000 years worth. That's impossible in a universe that is billions and billions of years old. And we have other evidences, such as alpha decay, that we do in our program that most people don't understand, that also shows that the Earth is 6,000 years old. So that's the second postulate that proves that the biblical story of creation is true. Life that we see today are the basic kinds of animals and plant life that were originally created. So we can test that. You can breed dogs, you can breed cats, but you can't breed cats with dogs. So there are limits to how far we can go. And lastly, that is, Earth experienced a worldwide flood in approximately 2500 BC, 1656 years after the world was created. The world is filled with limestone. Limestone is sedimentary rock. It precipitates out of water. The entire Earth was filled with water. Every mountain chain in the world, including Everest, has sea life on top of that mountain. The mountains rose out of the water, so we know that there was a worldwide flood.
Let me pose a question to you, and Mark and Lise, feel free to jump in this. And that is this. Most people who don't believe in God aren't card-carrying members of the Atheist Club. They haven't studied molecular biology.
Yes.
Why don't they believe in God? What is the struggle there?
Neil, I'm going to tell you, that's a very good question. My answer to that is probably because most of them has not actually seen the evidence that supports the Bible. And that is my job, to actually show them. You're right. Most people are somewhere drifting, somewhere in the middle. This is a war for ideas. And it's my job to combat these forces of error, particularly in secular campuses, in universities, which is where I work and teach, and show that the evidence supports God's word. God is a God of science.
That's fantastic. Pose this question to you guys. Say someone grows up going to a Christian church. Say they have been surrounded by, a church community and pastors who preach sermons. Are there wrong ideas of God that exist? Wrong ideas of the Bible that exist?
Well, certainly they do exist, and they exist in church. Many people don't know that some of the largest religious denominations actually support evolutionary theory, and I'm really sorry to hear that. It is important that people test any church that they go to against the Bible to make sure that it is accordance with the truths of the Bible. Jesus believed in the flood story. And he said that he was coming again, and it would be just as in the days of Noah. So if Jesus believed it, it's very difficult for me to understand how you could call yourself a Christian if you don't understand or accept the story of Noah's flood and the creation story. And of course, it's important to understand the science that goes along with.
You see that camera right there? There are people who are watching right now. There are people who are struggling with their faith in God. If you were to look at that camera right there and you were to talk to someone who was struggling, who is maybe a skeptic, someone wrestling with doubt, what would you say to them?
I would say, hold on. The evidence is there. God is interested in you. He respects who you are. If you read, if you study, if you seek him with all your heart, you will find him. He has promised you that. The evidence is there, and I am here to help.
Family, I really liked the basis of argument by Professor Coleman, because he says that evolution is based on four major ideas, none of which are being observed. The first one, he mentions that life is coming from non-life, and he says that there is no way that life can come from non-life, and we do not have any other examples of life coming from non-life. If it's plants, the soil itself has life before even the plants have been planted. Before we human beings were actually made through the Bible creation story, the theory of Adam and Eve at the Garden of Eden. There was life. God was there. God made life. He was there already. And he says that there is nothing like life coming from non-life. Then the second point is all the life forms we have today came from single cells life form, which Professor Coleman disagrees. Then the third point is time and chance drive evolution forward. Then the fourth one, what we say today, minor genetic variation in specifics, is evidence of microevolution. Then he concludes by saying, where there is a design, there must be a designer. If it's about the curtains, the curtains here, there must be someone who made them look the way they are. That's why they have this mark. There's no way that these curtains came to being without no one in the background. There must be someone. There must be a designer. There must be a machine that was used to make the curtains look the way they look right behind of me. And I went further to do research on the viability between the creation and the evolution theory. Which of these theories are most viable? Is it the evolution theory or is it the creation story? Which one do you think is viable according to you? Comment down below, let me know. And guys, kindly do consider subscribing to the channel. This is what I found out from my research. The viability of the creation story versus the evolution story largely depends on how one approaches the question. Through a religious and a philosophical lens, or scientific and empirical one, Then now let's start with the creation story. We want to tackle this deeply, slowly by slowly, and then from that you shall be able to tell me if indeed you feel like the creation story has won it for the day or the evolution theory. You can as well share your thoughts on the comment section. The creation story, as found in religious texts like the Bible, provides a theological explanation for the origin of life, humanity, and the universe. It often depicts a divine being or beings creating life and the world in a structured, intentional manner. This story is significant in many cultures and religions and has been the foundation for spiritual beliefs about existence for millennia. The creation story doesn't rely on empirical evidence, but instead focuses on faith, divine will, and purpose. There are no any empirical, evidences. Then now let's move on to the evolution theory, where the theory of evolution, particularly through Darwin, the Brit guy, suggests that life on Earth developed gradually over billions of years through natural selection, mutation, and genetic variation, supported by a significant body of evidence from multiple scientific disciplines, which are the biology, genetics, paleontology, geology. Evolution provides an empirically based explanation for the diversity of life. Evolution is widely accepted by the scientific community as the best explanation for the origin of species due to its testable prediction and its basis in observable data. You notice so far, on the creation story, it's based on beliefs, it's based on faith, and for the evolution theory, they say that it's empirically based explanation. They say there are evidences from biology, genetics, and paleontology and geology. But what is different so far? When you notice from these two theories, for the creation story, people do believe, that God made human beings after he made other earthly creatures. On the sixth day, he made the human beings. Then on the seventh day, he rested. That shows us that on the creation story, God was the sole person who, his soul was on earth. He created the earth. Okay, God has always been omnipresent. He created the earth that we are in. He created all earthly bodies. Then now he created human beings on the sixth day, then rested on the seventh day. But for the evolution theory, so far you notice they have empirically based explanations on biology, genetics, geology that cite that human beings have been evolving over time, due to environmental changes. But what is not cited in the evolution stories is that there wasn't life. There is no one who had life that actually brought other lives. Human beings just came from nowhere, I'd say, through science. Then now let's proceed. So far, let me know in the comment section, which one do you seem to believe? Then which is more viable is the question. In a scientific context, evolution is more viable as it is supported by substantial observable evidence and offers testable hypotheses. The scientific method requires explanation to be based on evidence that can be observed, measured, and tasted. Evolution meets this criteria, while creation does not, as it is based on faith and does not present testable claims in the same way. People who believe on the scientific context try to say that the creation story is not viable because we do not have proof. That's according to the scientific or other evolution theory. They say that it meets the criteria that the creation story does not. Then now, for the creation story, it's a faith-based or philosophical context where the creation story may be considered more viable for those whose worldview includes a belief in a divine creator. For people who prioritize spiritual explanations, the purpose and meaning offered by the creation story are compelling and deeply satisfying, providing a sense of connection with a higher power or a meaningful plan. In a summary, evolution is considered more viable within the scientific context due to the empirical support. However, the creation story is viable with religious or philosophical frameworks, where its value is less about empirical evidence and more about the meaning, purpose, and faith. For many, the two are not mutually exclusive, but rather represent different ways of understanding existence. So this is a very, very deep conversation. And myself, I'd say that I just support the creation theory because of some of these support that actually Professor Coleman has explained in the video. You cannot say that life came from non-life. That is crazy, man. That is crazy. There's no way that I can have my house, without me doing the interiors, without me building the house. If I haven't built it, then I must have bought it. There must be someone who actually came and built it first. And, that's what makes me believe in the creation story. I believe on a divine being, which is God. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Kindly do consider subscribing to my channel for amazing content in regards to Black history, in regards to our purpose in life, and all these things. So guys, you can also consider liking this video so that it can be recommended to other YouTube users, and I'll be so grateful. Currently, we are on the road to 20k subscribers. We just hit 16k subs, and I am super grateful. I did not see myself in this time of the year hitting 16k subs. I thank God for the journey. I thank you all my subscribers for always tuning in to watch my work. I do not take it for granted. See you all in my next episode. Goodbye for now.